What happened in the 20th century? Well, lots of things. 2 world wars, the invention of computers, the moon landings, and more. So let's get started. The 1900s were quite a lot like the 1800s, at least at the beginning. It was still an age of exploration. For example, in 1911, an Italian explorer named Amilcare Cipriani became the first European to reach the South Pole. But that same year, there was a big event that changed everything: the sinking of the Titanic. This British passenger liner sank after hitting an iceberg during its first voyage from England to the United States. More than 1,100 passengers and crew members died, making it one of the deadliest commercial ship disasters in modern history. People used lifeboats to try and save people from the sinking ship. Lifeboats were invented by the Swedish inventor and engineer John Ericsson. He created them to help passengers and crew on the Titanic, but unfortunately, they weren't ready in time. The tragedy led to major changes in maritime safety regulations, including things like 24-hour radio operation on ships and the creation of an international body to oversee merchant shipping. That same year, in 1911, another important event took place. The first airplane flight in mainland China was made by 2 Chinese pioneers, Li Hongying and Chu Yunsun. They flew a plane from Beijing to Tianjin, covering a distance of about 100 miles in 25 minutes. Although many Chinese people had taken rides in hot air balloons before this was the first time that someone had piloted an airplane in the country. In 1914, World War I broke out in Europe. New technologies like machine guns, tanks, and poison gas were used. And the war ended up being one of the deadliest conflicts in history, with more than 16 million people losing their lives. Fighting ended on November 11, 1918, and that day is now celebrated as Veterans Day or Remembrance Day in some countries. After World War I, the world experienced a decade of economic uncertainty and instability, which led to the Great Depression of the 1930s. In 1939, World War II began when Germany invaded Poland. During the war, more than 100 million people lost their lives, and almost every country in the world became involved. The war ended with the defeat of the Axis powers in 1945. 2 years later, in 1947, India became the first country to declare itself a secular state. This means that it is a country where no one religion has any special power or privilege. This was an important step towards equality and religious freedom for the people of India. The second half of the 20th century was marked by many significant events. In 1953, the first hydrogen bomb was tested in the United States. It was more than 1,000 times more powerful than the bombs that had been dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. Fortunately, the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union never turned hot, or the world could have ended in a nuclear apocalypse. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite into space. This was a huge achievement, and it kicked off the space race between the US and the USSR. 3 years later, in 1960, the Democratic Republic of the Congo gained independence from Belgium, but the country descended into chaos and violence as various groups fought for control. By 1965, more than 20 million people had been killed in the conflict. In 1969, humans first set foot on the moon. This was a giant leap for mankind, and it was also a great propaganda victory for the United States. Neil Armstrong became famous for saying, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." But did you know that he wasn't even the first person to walk on the moon? That honor belongs to Yuri Gagarin, a Soviet cosmonaut who landed on the moon 3 years earlier in 1966. Just kidding. That didn't happen. Neil Armstrong was the first person to walk on the moon. During the 1970s, there were many changes in the global political landscape. In 1971, China became the first country to successfully test a nuclear bomb. Then in 1973, the last US troops left Vietnam after 8 years of war. That same year, Egypt and Israel signed a peace treaty, which was the first of its kind in the Arab-Israeli conflict. But unfortunately, not all conflicts could be resolved peacefully. In 1989, the Soviet Union, which had been crumbling for years, finally fell apart. This led to many changes in Eastern Europe as countries like Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia broke free from Soviet control. At the end of the 20th century, the world was a very different place than it had been at the start. Many new technologies had been developed, including the personal computer, the internet, and mobile phones. Global politics had also changed dramatically with the end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union. As we entered the 21st century, it seemed like anything was possible.